Last time we covered the following headline: Happiness comes from solving problems. And the message was that problems are going to always be there. Your aspiration should be getting better problems. If you'd like to understand this concept better, I refer you to the previous reading session. Subscribe to the channel, open the lives list, and find the previous reading session, okay? It was precious. I loved the idea, and today, when I was uh, doing some stuff, like random stuff, the idea came into my mind. I was like, okay, I'd like to have better problems. It would be better to have better problems. Like the aspiration shouldn't be uh, to solve all the problems and live problem free, because that's not how life works. Yeah, the aspiration should be to get better problems. For example, instead of struggling with um, a very low amount of money, for instance, yeah, you'd want to struggle with the decision of where to invest your money to create a new source of income. So it's gonna be a problem anyway, but it's gonna be a better problem, yeah, a problem that will sustain you and help you grow, etc. Interestingly, when we don't get this, some people struggle a lot. You know, you can live in a mansion and be miserable, because your your mindset could be just, okay, I want to solve my problems and live problem free, and that doesn't work. And sometimes there are problems we do not choose. Yeah, they they are just around. Even the problem of loneliness, for instance, if you at least have money or some interesting skills, you could ease that problem, maybe with hiring someone or with using your skills at some pubs, clubs, or somewhere to take care of your solitude problem, Okay, I like the name of the following headline as well: Emotions are overrated. I totally agree with this. So let's dive into it. And hi, Joanne. And I encourage you all to send me likes and comment. And super likes are also welcome. You can support me. Um, okay. Emotions evolved for one specific purpose: to help us live and reproduce a little bit better. That's it. They're feedback mechanisms telling us that something is either likely right or likely wrong for us. Nothing more, nothing less. Okay? Much as the pain of touching a hot stove teaches you not to touch it again, the sadness of being alone teaches you not to do the things that made you feel so alone again. Okay? Emotions are simply biological signals designed to nudge you in the direction of beneficial change. And before I move on, thank you guys, two people who gave me the likes. Thank you very much. Three people, thanks a lot. What do you think emotions are? You can write down your concepts, ideas, your definitions, so that instead of just listening, we can also interact. I'll read your comments and it will be more interactive. Okay. Look, I don't mean to make light of your midlife crisis, or the fact that your drunk dad stole your bike when you were 8 years old and you still haven't gotten over it. But when it comes down to it, if you feel crappy, it's because your brain is telling you that there's a problem that's unaddressed or unresolved. In other words, negative emotions are a call to action. Okay? When you feel them, it's because you're supposed to do something. Okay? Positive emotions, on the other hand, are rewards for taking the proper action. When you feel them, Life seems simple and there is nothing else to do but enjoy it. And then, like everything else, the positive emotions go away because more problems inevitably emerge. Okay. Okay. Numb close says, I hate bad emotions. I can't control it. Probably you mean you can't control them, yeah, the bad emotions. I agree with you, and it happens to all of us all the time, or most of the time. We experience bad emotions too. Um, but I think what the author is saying is when you experience them, you just need to acknowledge that it means you'd better take some action, you know? So you could theoretically just blame yourself or feel crappy about it without taking any action. But if you take any action, it can be something very simple, like maybe walking, doing some exercise, reading one page of something. Like you kind of reward yourself. Yeah, okay, I did this to ease the problem, you know, and then that bad emotion can uh, get um, calmed down, in some way. Okay, numb close says, I use drugs because I avoid those emotions. Oh, yeah, I see. Sometimes I don't do drugs, but I sometimes used to smoke, especially when I felt very uh, tense because of, I was attacked, for instance. Yeah. A few months ago, I was physically attacked for wearing a woman's hat in my home country. And of course, it was not just the physical consequences, but also the emotional consequences. I saw the attacker, the perpetrator, in my dreams a few times, So I get you, and I smoked myself uh, to feel lighter, but still, when we choose mental processes, like we choose to take actions that would ease our problems. Mine could be, for instance, emigrate, yeah, go away from the country, or maybe from the town, or I don't know, learn to defend myself, anything, yeah, any creative, positive, useful action, you know. So, Numb Close says, I'm studying medicine, but drugs and those things don't let me move. Oh, yeah, just try to take small steps, like small actions. For instance, I'm exercising. I just do push-ups every day. I started from 3 push-ups per day. Now I'm doing 17 to 15 push-ups per day, depends on the day. Today I was able to do only 7 push-ups because I'm a little sick, and sometimes when I give a day off, my muscles repair themselves. Yeah, they get mm, relaxed and stuff. So those small actions, they can be very small, but if they are creative, if they are supporting your goals, then they could replace the usage of the drugs. You could take a glass of water when you feel low. You like, okay, I'm gonna drink this glass of water slowly, and that's your positive and creative action that supports your body, your well-being. So let's see what the book says. Maybe we'll get some interesting things. But what I'm getting is that emotions, the hierarchy of emotions, they should be lower. They shouldn't be the top priority. That's what he's saying. Your stream is about what? Well, the book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. I'm reading the book for myself and for my subscribers. I haven't read it, I'm reading it for the first time. It's pretty good. It has some very useful advice in it. Okay, let's move on. Look, I don't mean to make. Ah, yeah, we did that. Emotions are part of the equation of our lives, but not the entire equation. Just because something feels good doesn't mean it is good. Hmm? Just because something feels bad doesn't mean it is bad. Okay? Emotions are merely signposts, suggestions that our neurobiology gives us, not commandments. Okay? Therefore, we shouldn't always trust our own emotions. In fact, I believe we should make a habit of questioning them. I like these ideas very much. I'm an objectivist. Objectivism is modern philosophy created by an American best-selling author, Ayn Rand. Maybe you've heard of Atlas Shrugged, one of her best-selling books. So, uh, the philosophy of objectivism is a very rational and very secular, free market capitalist philosophy, and there is a formula or formulum in the philosophy of objectivism. They say that the only absolute is reason, meaning, of course, we can agree that life is precious. Yes, life is a value. We all can agree on that. But sometimes it's okay to even take someone's life. For instance, you're a soldier and your enemy is trying to kill you, like a Ukrainian soldier facing a Russian soldier. Like, of course, the Ukrainian soldier has the right to defend his or her or their motherland, yeah, country. So sometimes it's even okay to take lives. So when you say life is the highest value, there can be some cases when it could be questioned. Yeah, that's what reason. On the other hand, when you choose reason above everything else, including above your emotions and feelings, that makes you stronger. That makes you more analytical, and I see it around myself. Emotional people are less reliable. I can tell you that. They can be, of course, their hearts can be very open. They can be, oh, I love you, I want to help you, and they can sometimes make some positive moves and speak. They love speaking, yeah, a lot of talk. But it's like this and then it's like this. They go up and they go down, so emotionality is not the best compass, not in terms of morality, not in terms of life choices and decisions. So I agree with this idea, and I also kind of propagate the philosophy of objectivism for those of you who want to discover an interesting, reliable philosophy that can work in the long run. And I studied different things. I also studied yoga. I find it precious. I also teach, like, I have an introductory course to the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, which is cool, which is very interesting. Yeah, the mind theory, non-Western mind theory, we could say. Yeah, Indian mind theory. However, like, when you pick also rationality and something very modern, that's a very useful tool for you, you know, for your personal development. Many people are taught to repress their emotions for various personal, social, or cultural reasons, particularly negative emotions. Sadly, to deny one's negative emotions is to deny many of the feedback mechanisms that help a person solve problems. As a result, many of these repressed individuals struggle to deal with problems throughout their lives. And if they can't solve problems, then they can't be happy. Remember, pain serves a purpose. Yeah, totally agree. So, repressing emotions isn't the goal. The goal is to have uh, 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 um, an efficient hierarchy, okay, where the emotions should be. For many people, emotions are on top. A lot of people just they make their decisions based on only what they feel, what they are afraid of, what they feel attracted to. So it's just pure emotion. And it's not, in the long run, it's not always the best thing to do, you know. But then there are those people who over identify with their emotions. Everything is justified for no other reason than they felt it. Quote, "Oh, I broke your windshield, but I was really mad. I couldn't help it." Unquote. Or, "I dropped out of school and moved to Alaska just because it felt right." Decision making based on emotional intuition without the aid of reason to keep it in line pretty much always sucks. Yeah. You know who bases their entire lives on their emotions? 3-year-old kids and dogs. You know what else 3-year-olds and dogs do? Shit on the carpet. An obsession and overinvestment in emotion fails us for the simple reason that emotions never last. Whatever makes us happy today will no longer make us happy tomorrow because our biology always needs something more. A fixation on happiness inevitably amounts to a never ending pursuit of something else: a new house, a new relationship, another child, another pay raise. And despite all of our sweat and strain, we end up feeling eerily similar to how we started: inadequate. Psychologists sometimes refer to this concept as the hedonic treadmill. The idea that we're always working hard to change our life situation, but we actually never feel very different. This is why our problems are recursive and unavoidable. The person you marry is the person you fight with. The house you buy is the house you repair. The dream job you take is the job you stress over. Everything comes with an inherent sacrifice. Whatever makes us feel good will also inevitably make us feel bad. What we gain is also what we lose. What creates our positive experiences will define our negative experiences. This is a difficult pill to swallow. We like the idea that there's some form of ultimate happiness that can be attained. We like the idea that we can alleviate all of our suffering permanently. We like the idea that we can feel fulfilled and satisfied with our lives forever. But we cannot. Yeah, the end of this little chapter, and it made me remember my relationship with my boyfriend. When I worked in Beijing, China, I was an English teacher there. I took my boyfriend also to China, and that kind of was our honeymoon. But you know, sometimes it was so sweet and beautiful, and other times it was hell. He stayed there for 2 months, and even within the first month, we had some very bitter fights over nothing. Like, you know, he was much younger than me. He would listen to his music without the earphones, although I bought him like good, expensive earphones, but he sometimes wouldn't use them. Um, you know, over stupid little things like that. And I was like, I am going to get up early next day, so I need to sleep. Please lower the volume, and he wouldn't lower it. So, all that kind of stuff. And sometimes I would even sit in the garden outside the apartment complex for several hours until my battery was almost gone, or until I felt cold, and then I would go home. Yeah, it's sad, but what was the source of pleasure? Yeah, like that relationship, it was also the source of suffering. A lot of people are familiar with that, you know. So, guys, you can also write your own life stories. Again, I like these lives to be interactive. So, how do you overcome suffering? How about emotions, the role of emotions in your lives? Are they helpful to you or not? Do you sometimes get overly emotional, like with positive emotions or negative ones? And after you feel like they trained you. So while you write your comments, I'll also share this. It would happen to me actually, and I told about this in the previous reading sessions as well. I would sometimes uh, get inspired with some ideas in my room, reading or watching some YouTube stuff or whatever. And then my response, the response of my body to that inspiration, emotional inspiration, would be just go to the kitchen and uh, celebrate my upliftment with the fridge, with the food inside the fridge. So being emotional can be harmful. Like when you are not the master of your emotions, but they govern you, yeah, instead of you governing them, uh, it can bring, lots of unwanted consequences, including, unwanted eating or uh, getting drained out. It happened again to me as well. Sometimes I would organize events, for instance, and get overly excited. And then, of course, at the end of the day, or even before the end of the day, you feel drained out because that, those high emotions, like, oh, yeah, let's do this, I'm excited, they also increase the level of stress hormone in your body, cortisol, and you get very stressed so that those emotions that promise happiness, they actually bring stress with them you know okay, next little headline within chapter 2 is choose your struggle. Let's get into it. If I ask you, what do you want out of life, and you say something like, I want to be happy and have a great family and a job I like, your response is so common and expected that it doesn't really mean anything. It's sad. I'm reading and I'm like, it's true, but it's also sad that it's true. Everybody enjoys what feels good. Everyone wants to live a carefree, happy, and easy life. To fall in love and have amazing sex and relationships. Yeah, I want those things. To look perfect and make money and be popular. Yeah, and well respected and admired and a total bowler to the point that people part like the Red Sea when they walk into the room. Everybody wants that. It's easy to want that. You know? A more interesting question, a question that most people never consider is, what pain do you want in your life? What are you willing to struggle for? Because that seems to be a greater determinant of how our lives turn out. For example, most people want to get the corner office and make a boatload of money, but not many people want to suffer through 60-hour work weeks, long commutes, obnoxious paperwork, and arbitrary corporate hierarchies to escape the confines of an infinite cubicle hell. Mm. Most people want to have great sex and an awesome relationship, but not everyone is willing to go through the tough conversations, the awkward silences, the hurt feelings, and the emotional psychodrama to get there. Yeah. And so they settle. They settle and wonder, what if? for years and years until the question morphs from what if into what else? And when the lawyers go home and the alimony check is in the mail, they say, "What for?" If not for their lowered standards and expectations 20 years prior, then what for? Because happiness requires struggle. It grows from problems. Joy doesn't just sprout out of the ground like daisies and rainbows. Real, serious, lifelong fulfillment and meaning have to be earned through the choosing and managing of our struggles. Whether you suffer from anxiety or loneliness or obsessive compulsive disorder or a dickhead boss who ruins half of your working hours every day, the solution lies in the acceptance and active engagement of that negative experience, not the avoidance of it, not the salvation from it. Oh, mm, I'm thinking of some of my own problems. People want an amazing physique, but you don't end up with one unless you legitimately appreciate the pain and physical stress that come with living inside the gym for hour upon hour, unless you love calculating and calibrating the food you eat, planning your life out in tiny plate sized portions. People want to start their own business, but you don't end up a successful entrepreneur unless you find a way to appreciate the risk, the uncertainty, the repeated failures, the insane hours devoted to something that may earn absolutely nothing. People want a partner, a spouse, but you don't end up attracting someone amazing without appreciating the emotional turbulence that comes with weathering rejections, building the sexual tension that never gets released, and staring blankly at a phone that never rings. It's part of the game of love. You can't win if you don't play. What determines your success isn't what do you want to enjoy? Question. The relevant question is what pain do you want to sustain? The path to happiness is a path full of shit, heaps, and shame. You have to choose something. You can't have a pain free life. It can't all be roses and unicorns all the time. Pleasure is the easy question, and pretty much all of us have a similar answer. The more interesting question is the pain. What is the pain that you want to sustain? That's the hard question that matters. The question that will actually get you somewhere. It's the question that can change a perspective, a life. It's what makes me, and you. It's what defines us and separates us and ultimately brings us together. For most of my adolescence, actually, again, guys, I'll ask the question to you. Doesn't matter when you watch this stream, right now or after, when it's over. Let's try and answer this question to make these reading sessions more uh, productive. Yeah. So the question is again, what pain do you want to sustain? Okay. So what are your goals? And in order to achieve those goals, what pain do you want to sustain? And let me think myself. Well, I want good sex, obviously. I want a lot of money. And money is also tied to sex. So I am ready to sustain the pain of teaching some students who are very slow, and that's very boring sometimes. At times, you get very angry, or you could get angry at your students. So I would be willing to sustain that pain. Uh-huh. What else? Maybe right now on my mind I have the concept of maybe caring, for some elderly people. I could maybe choose to sustain that pain in order to gain, for instance, the money I want. What else? Yeah, hours and hours of working. I make my own websites, I make my own online courses, I make my own content, and there is, of course, pain associated with it. My eyes, for instance, they hurt, especially when I make the lesson plans, the presentation, like the content of the online course. It's physically sometimes painful, but I'm willing to sustain that pain, and I am sustaining that pain because it might get me somewhere, yeah? With my subscription website, for instance, where I have my first course on philosophy, the introduction to philosophy and the philosophy of objectivism. So I'm willing to sustain those forms of pain for some gain in the future. Yeah. Because right now it doesn't bring me much, but I'm in the process of building. So you guys can honestly try and answer those questions in the comments section. I think you shouldn't be afraid of being public, sharing your innermost feelings. No one is going to steal them from you. And even if there are some online trolls that might laugh at you, so what? It doesn't really change a thing. If you don't take their commentaries seriously, it doesn't really change a thing for you. But sharing might, because when you share those thoughts, first you think about them, then you formulate them, you have to write them. So it's the process of arranging your thought process and kind of materializing them, your thoughts. So you can gain something if you choose to share your thoughts and write them even as a comment, under a YouTube video, under this video. So I encourage y'all to do that. Okay. Okay. Let's finish this chapter. Okay. Mhm. For most of my adolescence and young adulthood, I fantasized about being a musician, a rock star in particular. Any badass guitar song I heard, I would always close my eyes and envision myself up on stage, playing it to the screams of the crowd, people absolutely losing their minds to my sweet finger noodling glory. This fantasy could keep me occupied for hours on end. For me, it was never a question of if I'd ever be up playing in front of screaming crowds, but when. I had it all planned out. I was simply biding my time before I could invest the proper amount of energy and effort into getting out there and making my mark. First, I needed to finish school. Then, I needed to make some extra money to buy gear. Then, I needed to find enough free time to practice. Then, I had to network and plan my first project. Then, and then, nothing. Despite my fantasizing about this for over half my lifetime, the reality never came to fruition. And it took me a long time and a lot of struggle to finally figure out why. I didn't actually want it. I was in love with the result, the image of me on stage, people cheering, me rocking out, pouring my heart into what I was playing. But I wasn't in love with the process. And because of that, I failed at it repeatedly. Hell, I didn't even try hard enough to fail at it. I hardly tried at all. The daily drudgery of practicing, the logistics of finding a group and rehearsing, the pain of finding gigs and actually getting people to show up and give a shit, the broken strings, the blown tube amp, hauling 40 pounds of gear and to and from rehearsals with no car. It's a mountain of a dream and a mile high climb to the top. And what it took me a long time to discover is that I didn't like to climb much. I just liked to imagine the summit. The common cultural narratives would tell me that I somehow failed myself, that I'm a quitter or a loser, that I just didn't have it, that I gave up on my dream, and that maybe I let myself succumb to the pressures of society. But the truth is far less interesting than any of these explanations. The truth is, I thought I wanted something, but it turns out I didn't. End of story. I wanted the reward and not the struggle. I wanted the result and not the process. I was in love with not the fight, but only the victory. And life doesn't work that way. Who you are is defined by what you're willing to struggle for. People who enjoy the struggles of a gym are the ones who run triathlons and have chiseled abs and can bench press a small house. People who enjoy long work weeks and the politics of the corporate ladder are the ones who fly to the top of it. People who enjoy the stresses and uncertainties of the starving artist lifestyle are ultimately the ones who live it and make it. This is not about willpower or grit. This is not another admonishment of no pain, no gain. This is the most simple and basic component of life. Our struggles determine our successes. Our problems birth our happiness, along with slightly better, slightly upgraded problems. See, it's a never ending upward spiral. And if you think at any point you're allowed to stop climbing, I'm afraid you're missing the point. Because the joy is in the climbing itself. Hallelujah to that, guys. This is the concluding paragraph. I will read it again because there is wisdom in it, okay? It's a never-ending upward spiral. And if you think at any point you're allowed to stop climbing, I'm afraid you're missing the point. Because the joy is in the climbing itself, okay? End of chapter 2. The third chapter, the name is You Are Not Special, okay? So next time we'll continue with this third chapter, okay, and we'll discover why we are not special. Um, yeah, I'm happy I picked this book. It contains some mm, very useful content, bits of wisdom. Those ideas are around, yes, in different philosophies, in different cultures, religions. We just need to discover them and rediscover them. And sometimes, you can watch something, read something, listen to something, but it might not sink in. Sometimes you just need time and repetition. It's like, sometimes you watch the same movie for the second time, for the third time, and you notice some scenes that you haven't seen. And you're like, did I watch this movie? Really? Was that scene in this movie? How come I haven't noticed it? You know? So that's why it's useful to meditate on these ideas, to rediscover them in different pieces of literature. in conversations, etc., etc. So thank you for being with me. Subscribe to this channel. Check the previous lives because this is the seventh reading session. So if you open the lives tab, you'll have the previous reading sessions. And one reading session wasn't live. I uploaded that one on YouTube, so you can find that one in the videos section, okay? Not the live section. So that's it. High five to y'all, and see you probably tomorrow, okay? Have a good one. Bye bye.